Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Everybody buys their own groceries with their own money? That's weird. I mean, I try not to be judgmental about how other families do things, but that's weird. More details right after a short pause. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Family shares everything? If you say so. So this happened when I was little after I turned 18 years old. One day, my mom and dad decided to take me with them to go grocery shopping. I really liked going shopping with them at that time because, much like now, my appetite was close to insatiable. And for me, that meant food, food, and more food. By the end of our run, I literally had an entire shopping cart full of stuff. Frozen pizzas, spicy noodles, lunch meat, bread, etc. Mostly spicy food because I love to have some bark with my bite. LOL. Fast forward a few days later. I'd just come home from school and all I could think about was watching a movie and stuffing my face with pizza. But when I opened the freezer, I saw that out of the 3 pizzas I had, only 1 was left. I was pissed at this because I knew for a fact that I hadn't eaten them myself. About 2 hours later, my parents come home and I asked them both if they'd eaten my pizzas. My dad said no, he hadn't, but my mom, my sweet, entitled mom, didn't even try to deny it. I asked her why she didn't just ask me for one of the pizzas. I also added that had she asked, I would have just given her one of them. Her response? I don't have to ask you for anything. You're my son, and this is my house. I got angry and responded with, yeah, this is your house, but I paid for that with my own money. Money that I made on my own. I paid for it. The least you can do is ask before you start going into my stuff. For the record, this happened a lot. We'd all go food shopping, my mom would get the bare minimum, and then help herself to whatever me or my dad bought. She didn't like what I said, and her response was, I don't care if you paid for it yourself. I didn't raise you to be selfish. We're family, and in this house, family shares everything. One thing I'd like to add is that my mom at that time had a massive sweet tooth. If it had lots of sugar or high fructose corn syrup, she just had to have it. One day, when she'd left for work, I went into the kitchen and came across her not-so-secret stash of assorted sugary sweets. M&Ms, Skittles, Starburst, the works. So I went into that bag and took every single pack of Skittles out, leaving just the other stuff. I gleefully ate the Skittle and, for the remainder of her absence, chilled out in my room and waited. When she got home, she sat down to watch TV for a while, and then she went for her bag of candy, and let me tell you, her reaction was almost as sweet as her secret stash. At first, she'd assumed that my dad had eaten the candy, but that was brushed off considering that my dad didn't like Skittles for some reason. Then she came to me and asked if I'd eaten it. Much like her, I didn't deny it. She immediately started ripping into me, saying that I had no right to go into her stuff and how she'd ground me for doing it. I simply shook my head. Then when she asked me why I went into her bag, I looked at her with an innocent smile and said, well, you said family shares everything, so I didn't think you'd mind if I ate some of your candy. There was a few seconds of silence. Then, without a word, my mom walked out of my room. My food stopped going missing after that. And our second story. She told me to do exactly what she says. And I did. I'm a secretary for a medical facility that funds other medical institutions. I'm also responsible for their travel to conventions and conferences. This is a very large, very highly attended conference held each year in which our medical professional staff are invited as presenters. One such Karen-esque presenter just has to be incredibly difficult as she feels she's above us dregs and never lets us forget it. As a presenter, they're given certain hotels that are reserved for them at a reduced rate. However, most are nowhere near the convention site, and they end up paying a crapload of money to cabs. No Uber at the time. I set up the travel for at least 10 folk when I realized that by a loophole I can book them into the hotel where the conference is held. So I do that instead of allowing the conference coordinators to book them in heaven knows where at the last minute, which they are prone to do. Karen comes up to me and demands that I only book her into the hotels listed by the conference coordinators, and if I don't, she'll have me written up. So that's what I did. The day before they all leave for the conference, which was clean across the country on the West Coast, Karen found out she was not the only one not booked in the conference hotel, but she was 9 miles away near the airport. And there were no more rooms available at Conference Hotel. She was hopping mad and stormed to my desk, screaming about putting her in a faraway 2-star hotel. I looked at her and calmly stated that she was in one of the 3 hotels the conference coordinators reserved for her, and she distinctly instructed me to only select those hotels and nothing else. She ended up spending more than $70 in cab fare to and from the hotel to the venue, while everyone else only had to go downstairs from their hotel rooms. She almost missed giving her presentation because she was late. After that, when I booked everyone for a trip, Karen no longer demanded I give her special treatment and lets me use my judgment when booking hotels. The best part is you let her do it to herself with a paper trail. And our next story. Hello? Is it me you're waiting for? All right. So, like many of my other stories, this happened when I was working as a supervisor for a major cable internet provider. For this particular story, I was working the 6 p.m. 2 a.m. shift, somewhere around 10 p.m. This is relevant to the story, mostly because at that time of day, we got an absolute skeleton crew as nothing much is going on. There's me, one other supervisor, maybe a dozen customer service agents. There's absolutely nobody else customer-facing in the building. There might be a janitor or something around, I don't remember. As the senior supervisor, I'm in charge for the night. If something super important comes up, it'll be dealt with by someone higher than me in the morning, and there's an emergency number for the building exploding or something. That kind of thing rarely happens. Okay, that's the relevant backstory. Here we go. I have a gentleman transferred to me that asked to speak to a supervisor because we wouldn't install cable at his house until he paid the balance he had not paid on his previous account at a different address some months back. He wasn't currently a customer of ours. He owed us money before we'd let him be a customer again, and he was one of the biggest jerks I've ever talked to. All in all, this means I've got a lot of leeway to work with, as keeping happy a non-customer that's actively trying to not give us money was not one of our higher priorities. So we don't need all the back and forth here. The first half of this was basically him trying to not pay us, me saying he needed to. Polite on my end, not remotely polite on his. He eventually asked to speak to my manager, and now we get to the fun part that I'll give you as best I remember. Listen, let me talk to your manager. I'm not happy with your attitude right now. To this point, I've given him zero attitude. I've just given him answers he didn't like, but politely and professionally. He's been fighting for a position in my top 5 rudest customers already. If you'd like to speak to someone else, I can certainly get you someone, but my manager isn't available right now. No, don't give me that. I want him right now. Do you understand me? I'm sorry, but I mean, he worked the morning shift today. He's literally not in the building and won't be until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Would you like him to call you back tomorrow? Remember, as I said at the start, it's 10 p.m. right now. No, I don't want him to call me back. Okay, fine. Shut up and listen very carefully. You're at one of those big call centers, right? I want to talk to the highest ranking person in the building. You got that? Well, sir, currently the highest ranking person in the building is talking to an upset person on the phone. Were you reading the preamble? You see where this is going? Then here's what we're going to do. I'm going to wait right here with you until they're off the phone, and then I'm going to talk to them. You understand? I'm not waiting for someone to call me. I'm not waiting on hold. You're staying right here, and don't talk to me until that call's over. Are we clear? You think you can handle that? Totally clear, sir. I'll be right here being quiet. Feel free to check on me anytime. So 99% of my job involves being on my PC, mostly helping the agents through our in-house instant messaging program. I do that for roughly an hour while this guy barks at me now and then to make sure that I'm still here. I tell him that I am. He grumbles. I wait. This continues until... Okay, I'm not waiting on this phone any longer. The second that person's off the phone, then you have them call me at this number, okay? Immediately. I don't care what time it is. No problem at all. I'll make sure that happens. So he hangs up, and me doing my job exactly as he asked, while being the highest ranking person in the building, I call him right back as fast as I can dial the number. He, of course, is at first confused, then really upset as I explain that he got exactly what he asked for. Well, why didn't you tell me that? You didn't ask. You told me to shut up, to listen really carefully, and do exactly as you said to. while I was trying to help you myself, trying to get you someone else, trying to do my job in any way I could, I followed your instructions to the letter, as you demanded. Now, was there anything I could do for you? Profanity ensues. He hung up, another customer who I was happy to comply with. And our last story. Don't park in front of my house, neighbor. So basically, I live in an upscale neighborhood in Toronto where my neighbors keep parking in front of my house. That's my parking spot, and I have nowhere else to park. Sometimes they'll have guests over and they'll park on the entire street, leaving me nowhere to park. I told them that I need to park and this has got to stop, and they apologized and said it won't happen again. I said thank you and apologized for the trouble. One day after work, I came home and what did I see? A party happening. And I saw my neighbor's car parked in front of my house. I didn't get mad, didn't react, just picked up my phone and got the car towed. I then moved my car in front of my own house. My neighbor was visibly pissed when he went outside to see his car get towed. He called me an a-hole and said that I should have been a bit more lenient, to which I responded, I don't pay property taxes, so you can park in front of my house whenever you feel like it. If I wanted to give out parking permits, I'd be a landlord. Now, don't park in front of my house again. He continued to make a scene, to which I reiterated again, I don't pay property taxes, so you can park in my parking space. He went inside, and I haven't spoken to him since. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.